Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Hi, everybody. My name is Vivian Acquah, and I'm an inclusion strategist who supports managers and their team in boosting effective communication and effective collaboration through different ways of working. So, if you want to learn more, or want to know more, or want to help align or tweak your team recipe, reach out for me. Know that within the LinkedIn, you can find a link to book an introduction call, and that's free. So just book your introduction call to learn more about how I can support you to create your own team recipe or lay a foundation as well. Today is about there's a lot happening in the world. Football is happening, and I am rooting for many countries. It's really exciting to see football happening, but I'm not gonna talk too much about football. I am gonna talk about a topic that many find maybe mysterious and think that they are the only one who's going through that. But today, Lauren Valbert is going to demystify that. That's not the case. That's definitely not the case. So, to do Lauren justice, I'm going to read her bio so
Oh,
that you know who I'm talking to. So, Lauren Valbert is she has become a strategic expert on change and communication and has helped C-suites develop innovation and change management strategies and leaders and executives on being better advocates themselves. And Lauren is also the author of the best-selling book Imposter: Dismantle stories you tell yourself and overcome imposter syndrome. And this is if you're not watching this now or listening to the replay or maybe watching the replay later, just go through this, listen, watch. And if you have any questions, please, if you're live, just ask your questions. If you have questions afterwards, know that you can also answer your questions and I will make sure to tag them with Laura as well. So, welcome, Lauren.
thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. So, today we are going to talk about the imposter syndrome. But first, before we dive into that topic, what is your definition of humanizing the workplace?
Yeah, I mean, I could probably fill the entire session with just talking about this because to me, this has actually been my whole career
Mhm,
is really
mhm,
working on humanizing the workplace without using those terms. I think, I was in tech and what I particularly saw is people using screens and technology to really push away the humanity as much as possible because they were
mhm,
not comfortable with bringing their humanity into the workplace. And I think that
mhm,
that is changing. And that to me is really exciting. So I think what I'm seeing is people are insisting, really insisting on actually bringing in their whole self to work.
mhm.
And that is changing how people are interacting at work. And I think that that is the right path. I think it is fine if you want to say, my business self is my business self and my personal self. It doesn't mean you have to come in and dump all of your personal baggage. That's not what it's about. It's about feeling safe and comfortable enough to say, I am who I am. I am this person. And I feel okay being myself at work. And
Yeah.
when you do that, that's kind of like if you look at it like a pyramid, that's the base level. Okay, that's right, the base level.
Mhm,
And then the next layer is having leadership and management that provides enough psychological safety that people feel like they can innovate, they can be creative, they can fail. And we'll talk about failure, I think,
mhm,
later in more detail. And that I will learn through failure much more than I will ever learn through just succeeding, and that the leadership understands that that's part of the process. That's kind of the middle layer of humanizing the workplace, and the pinnacle really is to have a diverse enough voice on the leadership level. So you have many different kinds of voices on the leadership level so that no opinion is misunderstood. I think that that's
mhm,
fundamentally what I see is that um, capitalism, today's business is all about streamlining. It's about going as fast
Yeah.
as possible, which is not sustainable. If you want to build a
Mhm.
sustainable business, and I don't mean energy sustainable, but it is also about that. I mean sustainable for the long term, you have to include every different kind of voice. It's going to make you
True.
more money. It's going to mean you are innovative and creative. All of the reasons, all of the business reasons, as well as all of the, you know, human reasons. It has been shown scientifically that it makes those companies that are very diverse and that have diverse leadership make more money and are more sustainable. So to me, those are the three layers of humanizing the workplace. And I think that that is something where I think at least the base layer is being laid, and I feel optimistic about that.
I love that you are starting with the self, with the individual. Look within what you can do when it comes to humanizing the workplace and how you can contribute that. And then you go towards the leader into creating that psychological safety where second look, I mean, a team without psychological safety, it's a recipe for failure, basically. Because without that element, and also I would add trust. I would also add so many different elements when it comes to that, because without trust and without psychological safety, there's nothing there to lean on, because you don't have a team that trusts each other and they don't feel safe to open up or to say that something's going wrong or something's going
Exactly.
well, or that they are open enough to bring themselves to the workplace where they are able to share that they are going through maybe a challenging period, or that they are not being penalized. And um, it's also about, as a parent, which I am, as a parent, feeling safe to take paternal leave or parents leave, right? Or being able to take your paid time leave or paid time off, so that nobody looks weird upon you if you want to take 3 weeks off. I mean, in some countries, they do max 2 weeks, but in the Netherlands, it's more common to take like 2+ weeks off for the holidays. At least I will. Some
Right.
will.
Good. You should. I mean, and just on the day to day, actually stopping work at 5:30 and turning off your
Mm,
laptop and not having to hear that ping where your boss is saying, why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you?
yeah.
That whole thing of being aware of the fact that different people have different biorhythms, and some people
Mhm.
really actually like to get a lot of stuff done at night, and that's their energy, and a lot of
Mhm.
people do not and want to they
Yeah.
have to recharge. And so actually being aware of the different biorhythms that people have is a key part of
Yeah.
leading in a way that builds trust and psychological safety.
I agree. Just a question that has nothing to do, or maybe it does have a little bit to do. But what energizes you? What is the song that energizes you? Maybe through working, or maybe you don't listen to music while you're working, but what is the music that you want to share with other people?
It really depends on what I'm doing when I'm working. When I'm
Mhm,
writing, when I'm specifically writing, it's always jazz. Because jazz has no, well, wordless jazz, just music jazz, not song,
mhm, mhm.
uh, sing
Not the
jazz.
skibidi dab 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 dee dab
Exactly.
dab.
Just music like Miles Davis and Charlie Parker and,
Yeah.
the John Coltrane and the key and the oldies, but the
Mhm.
very goodies. It makes my brain go at the right rhythm to really write, without the
Yeah.
words distracting me. So that's what I do when I write, very, very key. Um, when I need to get psyched up for like a training or a workshop or a facilitation that I'm doing, it's funny because I really like alternative and rap. So I tend to listen to something with a really heavy bass, like really boosh,
Mhm.
doosh, doosh, doosh when it. So like De La Soul's Say No Go,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
Fallout Boy, like I love
Yeah. Yeah.
really heavy beats. So that gets me
Love it.
my heart pumping and I get psyched about it. So it really does depend on what I'm doing, but that's what jazzes me.
Mhm.
That's what gets me worked up.
Awesome. I always try to use jazz when a training starts, or when people are assembling, right? When they enter the room, I have wordless jazz on, and it's a way to set the tone a little bit for the day so that they can land in a safe space where the mood is right, where it's a coffee club, and they can just sit down and have a conversation with jazz in the background. So I do get it.
Yeah, I think jazz
Now,
also philosophically really is nice to do that because you're improvising. You're putting people in an
mhm.
improvisational space. Sorry, just
I
closing that
didn't know
thought.
that, but thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So coming to your book, Imposter, what inspired you to write that book?
So, what inspired me to write my book is actually a little thing you
Mhm.
might have heard of called COVID, which
Mm, yeah, not a
basically
little thing.
not a little thing, but you might have remembered it. So basically, what happened was in 2020, my business outside my home basically stopped. I was doing
Mhm,
online coaching sessions, training sessions, and stuff, but
mhm,
I was not leaving the house. No, no one was. It's funny to
mhm.
me. I think of like in 20 years when when younger people are coming and they're like, "What happened in 2020? Why are people all saying they
Yeah,
lived in their, we're stuck in their homes?" That's crazy to me.
it's
Anyway,
nuts. Yeah.
so the point was that I got frustrated and I was like, I want to
Mhm,
reach more people. I want to take these techniques that I've honed to help people get really overcome their imposter syndrome and just get it out to people. I'm stuck in my house. I want to
mhm,
get it out there. And so it had the book itself, I wrote it very, very quickly because everything that it was in the book was based on exercises that I was doing already with my clients.
mhm.
So it was
Yeah.
really just a process of sitting down and saying, okay, I do this. What is it? How does it help? What is it
Mhm,
focused on? So, like, for example, I do body exercises, I do voice exercises, I do intrusive thought exercises, really,
mhm.
and negative self-talk exercises.
Yeah.
So, kind of laying that out in an outline was actually the thing that took the longest. Which is kind of taking what I was doing and organizing it. And so, yeah, that is, I was really inspired because I was not able to do what I normally do, helping people, and I
Yeah.
wanted to help more people.
Yeah.
It was a
I get
passion, an
that.
obsession. So yeah, that.
I get that, and thank
Yeah.
you. And also, in the book, you talk about the following and how can individuals identify the specific sources of their imposter syndrome to address it effectively, right? Because um, I thought that imposter syndrome it was only me or me dealing with a story that I thought that was real. And then I came across a different book, which I'm not going to name out of respect of you, but a different book where I realized that I think everybody might come across a road or a cross path with their imposter syndrome, and I'm curious about what you think about that.
Yeah. So, your question, the way that I interpreted your question in kind of two ways.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, the original source of our imposter syndrome happened to us, and that is a very key
Mm.
thing to realize is that we didn't choose to have imposter syndrome. Nobody signed us up for
Mm.
this voluntarily. It
No,
is
I didn't.
a No, it's a system of interactions and impressions that we get throughout childhood into teen years and even early adulthood. It comes from parents, it comes from caregivers, it comes from peers, it comes from teachers, it comes from coaches, all sorts of impressions because our when we're children, our brains are absolute sponges and it's absorbing information, knowledge, but it's also
Mhm.
absorbing impressions, and
Yeah.
abuse, neglect, bullying, all of these things
Mhm.
can really put you in, absorb your negative feelings about yourself, even if it's not as full blown as abuse. Even a
Mhm.
teacher saying, which a teacher did say
Yeah.
to me, "You're not very good at
Yeah.
math, are you?"
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Okay, so I guess I'm not good at math because an authority figure is telling me I'm not good at math, right? So
Mhm.
I've then programmed that into my brain and I became bad at math all the time.
Mhm. Mhm.
And that is literally what happened. So when a teacher says you're not good at this or you're not trying hard enough or whatever, that becomes gospel because we're
Yeah.
too young to have that logic center operating. And that's a book that you are recommending? Oh, that's your
I'm
that's
recommending Awesome.
okay. So
Because
yeah, that
the reason why, let me pause you. The reason why I'm saying, Awesome is
yes.
you are saying something that should be screamed out loud for the people in the back. And that is the moment that somebody says something about you, it is gospel. We
When you're a
play it out
child,
loud.
100%,
We play
100%.
it out loud.
Yeah, we anybody who's, like, literally taller than us when we're a child is
Mm,
an authority
yeah,
figure, and they're speaking gospel, and
yeah,
we don't have our logic center developed to differentiate and say, "Well, that's that person's opinion, and that may
exactly.
not be
Exactly.
true," so that
Yeah.
comes later. That comes later in our life because we've developed that frontal cortex that tells us,
Mhm.
hey, that person has an opinion of you, and that is just
Mhm.
their opinion. That does not happen as a child. So you get this set of impressions, and no parents are perfect. So
Mm-mm.
in no way,
Mhm.
when I tell this to people, people are like, oh God, what am I doing to my child? I'm like, look,
Mhm.
the most important thing to really reinforce with children all the time is children, you every single person will be good at some things, not good at some other things, whatever. What I encourage parents to do with their children is to say, hey, you don't like sports? Okay, keep trying. Maybe you'll find one you do like. You don't like math?
Mhm. Exactly.
Maybe it's just that teacher isn't able to reach you. How can I help you be better at that? So keep
Mhm.
supporting them, keep in dialogue with them rather than be like, oh, I see you got a D on your math test. You must be bad at math.
Mm. Yeah.
That test is a teacher's opinion, by the way. Every test is a teacher's opinion. So that is
Mhm.
your teacher's opinion of your skills. That is not the facts. So anyway, point is,
But it
you
also it also connects me to you're talking about parents and their kids, but then again, a manager has a similar influence on
so
you. Your
then you
peer
get
review, your
into
year
yeah,
review,
exactly.
everything.
Yes. So what happens is by the time you become a child, an adult, and you
Mhm.
have your job, you get into the working
Mhm.
world, you have a set of stories and filters. So
Yeah.
your stories are, I'm not good at this. I'm not good at
Mhm.
speaking. I'm not good at meetings. I'm not good at. So you have a
Mhm.
set of things you're not good at. Then you have filters, which is when this person says, I need to work on this, gives me feedback that, oh, you need to work more on this, they're telling me I'm
Mhm.
bad and I'm really bad at my job.
Mhm.
So those are filters that are created by all of the impressions that you got as a child telling you you weren't good at this or yeah, that. So it is a minefield of workplace is a minefield of people's assumptions, their
Mhm.
values that they grew up with that they're projecting on you, and your filters and your stories about what you are capable of and what you're good at and what you hear people say. It is a minefield. I'm amazed that
Yeah.
anybody communicates at all. So just to go loop back on the values is a very important thing to realize because again, the values are an opinion you were given by your upbringing. And so
Mhm.
one of my favorite things to do is talk about vague bullshit words like professional, like you're not being
Mm.
professional.
Yeah.
That's
Professional
a
according to
that's
who? Because
coded, yeah, that is a coded
who has the
word
norm? Yeah.
that is a set of values and beliefs that is being projected from that person onto you. And
Mhm.
so if you were raised that you work 9 to 5 and you switch off and you need to rest and you need to take time and then you work for a manager who was raised that you never stop working. You work hard, you work 24/7, that's how you get ahead. They're going to think you're lazy when really
Mhm.
you are taking care of yourself, right?
Yeah.
So that is
Yeah.
where those value differences can really come into impact. I'm obviously exaggerating, but we constantly have
No,
that
you're
voice in
not.
the back
No,
of
you're
our
not.
head.
I do wanna add something because this is what I do with cultural intelligence, where
Mhm.
it's about demystifying the different values and beliefs that people have without them showing up vulnerable, right? So one of the values that you may have to trust another person is you need to show up on time. The other person may value or boost trust through relationship building, right? And then you have the other person who believes in I'm a solo person. I do my work best when I work alone, or the other person wants to collaborate better. So those
Exactly.
demystifying the values on how to effectively collaborate and how to communicate better. It's there are ways to demystify. It's not comparable with disc. Disc is more a solo thing, and whereas cultural intelligence is more a collaboration thing or a communication thing where you can demystify many things, but it goes perfectly with what you're saying right now regarding the values and beliefs as well.
Right. So you bring in with you a set of stories and filters that are give you imposter syndrome about what is happening in front
Mhm.
of you. It is especially true for people who are not the dominant paradigm in the workplace.
Mhm.
And what I mean
Yeah.
is non-white people, non-male people,
Mhm.
somebody from a different culture. If you're working for a Dutch company and you are not Dutch, all of those that
Mhm.
set of um, you start farther back and you are feeling more imposter syndrome because they're all talking a language literally that is different than
Mhm.
your language, even if they're all speaking the same language with you. So,
Yeah, and then I can also believe it to be true when you grew up in the rural area and working for the city, because the way that
100%.
people communicate is different, and vice versa as well, where you may think from the outside people look the same or they look similar, but from the inside, there are some differences that can cause the imposter to activate themselves.
Right. So to get
Yeah.
specifically back to that second definition of the way I took sources, so you've
Mhm.
taken this out of your childhood and growing up, and now you have put it into your body and way of being. And so that's the second
Mhm.
the second source and the only one that is treatable, the only one that is um, with neuroplasticity, you can reprogram it, is
Mhm.
your negative self-talk, your old
Mhm.
stories. This old story
Mhm.
looks like I'm no good at, or I can't
Yeah.
do X. That's an old story.
Yeah.
Your voice, not being able
Mhm.
to speak up, not being able to
Yeah.
project, not being able to fill a room with your voice because you have every right to. Those kinds of things you're able to touch and reprogram.
Mhm.
Those are the things that are able to be overcome, and you can then treat at least the symptoms of your imposter syndrome in that way by getting
Mhm.
better
Yeah.
at taking up space and exercising agency.
Okay, I see my friend Mary Jane is in the call right now. Thank you, Mary Jane, for joining the conversation. So she's saying, I like your description of how our insecurities develop starting in our childhood. Yes, I also like that as well. I think many
It's very
people are not
important to
even aware.
Yeah, it's really
Many
important to
people are not aware.
understand. Yeah.
Mhm.
I always say when I do this, when I do workshops talking about imposter syndrome, I always say babies did not come out of the womb with imposter syndrome. Therefore, it
Mhm.
happened sometime between when we were born and where
Yeah.
we are now. And,
Yeah.
it is that childhood spongy brain of absorb, absorb, absorb. It absorbs all the bad stuff as well as all the good stuff. And every one of us experiences bad stuff in our childhood at some point. It's just, do you have a support system that can help you deal with that or not? I did not have that. So I
We come back to the support
Yeah.
system because that's the
Yes.
next question. But I do want to also bring in another question from a person who's in the call right now. So I hope that I'm pronouncing your name right, Mr. Ursoy. If not, please let me know or send it in the message on LinkedIn so that we can pronounce your name better. But your question or your comment, you talk about dismantling the stories we tell ourselves. And in a fast paced corporate setting, how do you recommend we rewrite these narratives in real time, specifically during high stakes meetings where we feel pressured to have all the answers?
I love it. I
I'm
love
gonna
that question.
you and I'll add something else, Lauren.
Yep. So for me, this is a super key part of what I work on with my clients
Mhm,
often is it's a
mhm,
three-phase process. Know when you feel anxiety, that is your body and your mind telling you you feel that imposter syndrome. There's a gap between how prepared you feel and what that's going to cause, what that needs from you.
mhm,
When you go through an experience where you feel like, "Oh, I don't have the answers I need. I'm not prepared or I'm not good at this or this isn't." Write down afterwards all the moments where you didn't feel prepared, you didn't have et cetera. Really decode the moments
yeah,
because those are the moments where you have triggers. You have those stories that are saying, I'm not smart enough to speak up here, so I don't dare raise my hand. Or I don't I speak too quickly off the cuff and I don't have enough facts to whatever you need to diagnose that.
mhm,
And then before the next meeting where you know that's going to be the same situation, same set of people, same expectations, that one person that drives you crazy that's coming at you, because there's always one, you prepare in advance. Prepare in advance. So if your diagnosis is I speak too quickly off the cuff, I don't have enough stuff to back it up, think about some points you want to make during the meeting and give
mhm,
yourself some points to back it up. So just do the
yeah,
prep work. Very few people prep for meetings, and I think that's crazy. So really take the time, give yourself the gift of actually preparing for that meeting. And then in the meeting, do not be afraid at any time to slow the pace of the meeting down. Unless
mhm,
it is a town hall where there are hundreds of people, you have every right to go, "Hey, can we back up? I would like to focus a little bit more on that question or focus a little bit more on other people's input or whatever." Don't care. Do not let anyone else drive the pace of the meeting. Your imposter syndrome is saying somebody else is driving the pace of this meeting. Doesn't that's just a bullshit voice in your head. You
mhm.
can control the pace as much as anyone else. If you're in the room, you have something to contribute, so you need it to be at your pace. So that's where I really kind of work a lot with clients on that three-step process of diagnosis, preparation, and not being afraid to ask for what you need in the meeting itself.
And
Repeat,
also to add
repeat, repeat.
upon what you just shared right now, Lauren, because I do believe that many people do not prepare themselves effectively, but also oftentimes people don't receive agendas. People don't receive the topics so that they know how to prepare themselves. So next time when you're going in a meeting and you know of yourself that you might be baffled or you might get stunned or there's some anxiety, ask for the meeting notes. What are the topics that are being discussed? Find yourself a buddy, knowing who can help you during those settings can be also helpful and can remove the anxiety, and be okay to circle back. You can also say you don't have to. I want us to stop and think about the following, that to demand for people to answer something, and some questions they need some marination time. You need to think deeply about it instead of putting in the money and then thinking that, okay, that's the first answer that you need to get right. So it's okay to say, okay, I hear you. I understand this, but let me take a moment to let this marinate. And can we circle back? Can we put this topic on the next meeting, on the agenda for the next meeting, so that we can circle back, because this particular topic needs some more marination time, or I need some
Love
more
it.
time to process what we are going through. Try to be courageous and open and honest about asking for more time, because we are not AI where you put a prompt in and then expect a answer. You want to be able to brace yourself and provide a answer from a growth mindset instead of a fixed mindset. So I want us to embrace more effective meetings, effective communication. And when a meeting is effective, you need to have an agenda. You can have a buddy, and circle back is also another way to respond to something else and place it on the future meeting as well.
I love the buddy idea. That's great. That is fantastic. It's really helpful to have somebody else in the meeting as your ally. It really helps.
Mhm. It connects
Yeah,
also with the fan base, right? Which is the question that I want to ask right now, because in your
right.
book, you encourage people to activate their fan base by seeking feedback from people who appreciate them. Can you share some tips on how people can activate their fan base?
Yes. This is one of my favorite things to do with my clients is so we get feedback at work, which is mostly negative. I'm going to say I put negative in
Mm,
quotes. It's probably framed as constructive, but it feels
yeah, but
negative.
it's
It
too direct.
feels
Not
and
yeah,
it's really about you need to do this better. And
exactly.
especially in the country we both live in the Netherlands,
Mhm.
it's
Yeah.
really phrased very harshly at times.
Mhm.
So, it is you also need, to have the opposite as a mitigating circumstance to all that constructive feedback and so that's the baseline, but it is also truly about helping you understand what your values are, what your value is to the world. And that's beyond
Yeah.
work, by the way. That's in every aspect. But if you're focused
Okay, let
on
me
what am
let
I
me underline that. Your
yes,
values are beyond work, people. Again, your values
100%,
are beyond work. I know
100%.
that for so many people, they connect and identify with the work, and there's nothing wrong with that, but know that you as a person are so much more than your work.
Exactly. And that is why I encourage you to get feedback on your positive characteristics, your positive attributes from both work colleagues and from friends and family
Mhm.
if you have a good relationship with your
Yeah,
family. I want your fan. So I don't want you to start with people who are like, I don't really know you. I want you to start
yeah.
with people who are like, if you didn't work at this company, I would have to kill myself. Like you are a
Mm,
vital part of, and so to ask them, why? What makes
yeah.
me vital to your work day-to-day working?
Mhm. Yeah.
And it can be an uncomfortable thing to ask, but it is a really, really powerful thing to help you understand your own value, your own skills. And
Yeah.
really weirdly, friends don't talk about this, which I think it's like you only really
Not
talk
even.
about
Yeah.
your value in romantic relationships, and I really am
Mhm.
a big believer that friends should count as much as your romantic relationship. And I think that
Mm,
your value to that friend should be as important as your value to your romantic partner. So
definitely.
I think that that conversation you can have with your closest friends as well, and that will give you a perspective of what you contribute to the world outside work as well.
I want to add something else, and Mary Jane already added it, but I want to connect it to it, because sometimes come across a person that gives you a compliment. So sometimes people can be like Serena Williams and, swing that compliment away. But what I want you to do from now on, when you receive a compliment, so Mary Jane is talking about it. So in terms of rewriting the narrative, a friend of mine, I think it was me, Mary Jane, or somebody else, but I think we also had this conversation. A friend of mine also suggested keeping a brag book. So recording your successes, so that when these insecurities kick in, you have proof of your abilities, so that our negativity biases doesn't kick in. And I fully agree. I fully
Right.
agree. Fully
And
agree
the
with
best
that.
way that the way that you can write that, which then becomes very useful to you, is in case study format, which is this was the problem, this is what I did, and this was the impact, or so,
Mm,
or the outcome.
yeah,
And that
yeah,
way it is super clear to you, I did this, I moved the needle, I did this, and this was the impact.
exactly.
And it also takes it out of my opinion about what happened, and it's into
Hmm.
facts. So what was
Yeah,
the impact? It's not just how I felt
yeah,
about it.
yeah.
So I find that
Do
to
this
be really, really
monthly.
useful.
Do this monthly every at the end of the month or beginning of the month when you register, how much energy you have used. If you do that, do this at the end of the month or beginning of the month where you look into, okay, what have I done? What's my
Right,
contribution? Where did it lead? What did I learn? So that you don't get bombarded at the end of the year review, because then you can say, well, I have my list. It doesn't compare with what you are sharing. So let me help me understand where is the gap.
right. Yeah, and it also can help you figure out where you want to lean into. Where are your
Hmm.
things that you really love to do that you got tremendous energy and impact from? And do more of that. Put more
Yeah.
joy and excitement in your life, as well as bringing solutions to other people.
You got another reader. So Mr. Ersor is saying, thank you, Lauren Valbert. That framework, especially the importance of controlling the pace of the room, is a game changer. I'm definitely going to pick up your book to dive deeper into the steps. Yes,
Nice.
do that.
Nice.
Awesome.
Yeah, it is particularly important. I do a lot of work with inclusive leadership. And just
Mm-hmm.
one point that you made that I didn't get a chance to reinforce, but I really, really want to,
Mm-hmm.
is if you want to be an inclusive leader or an inclusive facilitator of meetings at any time,
Yeah.
always send the agenda in advance.
Yeah.
You have
Yeah.
introverts, you have non-native speakers or whatever language you're speaking in. You
Yeah.
have people who need to prep more, and you cannot
Yeah.
be inclusive if you assume everybody's able to kind of speak off the cuff on a subject, and
Yeah.
that's
I
just not being inclusive enough. So I did want to reinforce that. And the pace of every meeting is under your control, as well as everybody else's. Nice.
definitely. So, almost as well, it's not the last question, but the one before the last question. You
Potential twist.
highlight the societal structures like the patriarchy and the toxic corporate cultures contribute to imposter syndrome. How can organizations actively dismantle these structures to build a more inclusive and collaborative workplace?
I mean, again, this is a question that I could spend the entire session talking about. So it's a big
Mhm.
one.
Yeah.
I think that fundamentally, uh, we've touched on a lot of the points that I would make already, which is really,
Mm-hmm.
if you do not include diverse voices at every level of an organization, you are going to go very, 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 very fast into a wall.
Mm-hmm.
And that
Mm-hmm.
is so, there is the proverb which says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
Exactly.
This is
Yeah.
this is what it means. You will not go fast. If you incorporate lots of different voices, you will not go fast. But what you will do is you will make a more successful organization, both on the
Mm-hmm.
bottom line, the numbers, the
Yeah.
number going up and to the right on the growth chart that you want, but also in the human experience of the work floor, of the actual day to day of the work, will be better, because I will feel as an individual more represented if I see someone like Vivian as a leader in my organization, because I'm going to go, hey, she's
Mm-hmm.
really thinking about this from a different perspective than maybe the typical norm of a leader.
Yeah.
And so that to me is fundamentally how as an organization helps to dismantle this. I think, we are all in a very bad mood right now, because it seems like governments are doing all they can to reinforce patriarchy right now. I
Mm-hmm.
think that this is a blip. maybe I'm being
Yep.
too optimistic, but I do think this is a blip. We need to be intensely kind to each other and do all we can
Mhm.
on a local basis, because the global
Mhm.
basis is not coming to save us right now, and maybe never will. Maybe never will.
No.
We need to work on it from the level of how can I make my team more inclusive and more, innovative and creative together and build more trust. Because
And also what I wanna add on is you mentioned elements from an organizational level. I do believe that as a leader, whether you're leading the individual within the team or maybe you see a potential within the other team, show up as a mentor, support them because stepping into a new role as a manager or somebody who was part of the team and is now managing a different team or the same team, it will come up with many imposter syndrome moments, and supporting these new leaders or a new leader from outside that is coming in and where there is already an existing team dynamic, support them with toolkits, not just with the onboarding, like within 2 weeks and that's it. No, set up a plan 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, a half year, and a year to set them up for success.
yeah, yeah, and it's not just onboarding. It is
Mm.
especially as somebody kind of moves up into new management role, that is a moment
Mhm.
where so many companies drop the ball and they do not
Yeah.
really help people navigate that experience of managing people. And that's
Mhm.
crazy, because to me, managing people is the most important thing you do, and many companies don't
Exactly.
value it at all. And I think that is the way to do it here now, and for the people around you. And then I hope what will happen is enough people will do this and we will build a groundswell, because it's not happening from the top. We've seen this now. It's not going well. It's not going well up
Okay.
there. Yeah.
I'm gonna ask you the almost the last question. So this is the question that I wanted to ask. What is a question that leaders or other people are afraid to ask loud? And what it would be your answer?
Right. Yeah, there's again, when I was thinking about this question, there's so many things that come up. I think fundamentally tied into what we've already talked about is, um, you know, how can I be a better leader when I have nothing
Mhm.
left in myself anymore?
Yeah,
I'm too busy, I'm too exhausted, I'm too stressed, and you're telling me I need to be a better, more inclusive leader. How do I do
yeah.
that? How does that happen? And I think what I did as a leader and what I liked, because I saw it when I saw it in leaders that I was really impressed by, is be vulnerable. Don't be afraid to show
Mm,
vulnerability. Don't be afraid to say, this was my journey. This is what I learned. This is how I learned it. A lot of people, particularly women, think they have to be sealed off. Like they think that they have to be sealed off and perfect. And that gives the wrong impression to people, because that makes them more risk averse, more afraid to make mistakes, more afraid to reach out to you and kind of say, this isn't going well, or I need help in this area, or whatever. And that's counterintuitive.
mhm,
I think it is really great to say, hey, failure is a key part of the way that we learn. And I failed in this way. Let's talk about our failures. I failed in this way. If people want to share their failures, they can, they don't have to. And really make it okay to talk about stuff that is scary. That's the only thing you can do, and that doesn't cost any extra time, by the way. That's
mhm,
15 minutes of a weekly team meeting where you say, we're going to talk about failure now. Who has a good case study on failure and what they learned from that. So that doesn't take any more energy or time. That just takes you figuring out the line of being vulnerable with the people you're managing or your team, um, without dumping. I mean, without oversharing. And so really finding
yeah,
that
it's
line.
not a
And
therapy session.
yeah, no, no. But just really being like, hey guys, I was where you were.
Mhm.
I learned these things, I screwed up these things, and this is what I learned from it, and this is, where I feel like I can help you or, maybe guide you or whatever. I think that that is a real way to, um, help people without costing any more time and effort and energy that you don't have.
True. And also, I want to emphasize on the following is that when you're doing something new and you want to be confident in your role, whether it's a inclusion strategist or you are an inclusion consultant or you are a leader or you are a professional in the workplace, think about the following. Investing in a coach or a person like myself or Lauren or somebody else is a phenomenon that I don't see that many. And people may think like, okay, but that may be expensive. But then again, if you have a coach or a cheerleader or somebody in your corner that holds up the mirror, is honest, can train you with having courageous conversation or can work on the muscle that you need to work on to diminish or dismantle this imposter syndrome, wouldn't that, you know, wouldn't that provide space for joy, provide space for other exciting things instead of letting the imposter syndrome living rent free in your mind?
One of the clearest signs of imposter syndrome to me is somebody who does not prioritize themselves and invest in themselves. And so
Mm,
investing in yourself by getting a coach or taking training or
yeah.
courses is a key way to really demonstrate to yourself
Mm,
that you are worth it. And that I
yeah.
100% agree.
I do want to put something on because sometimes there might be reasons why a person doesn't have the funds. But then
Mm.
again, I also want to look to the company. Like companies have budgets, leaders have budgets, teams have budgets. So find a way to be creative. There are some coaches that can even offer a letter, ask my manager or convince my manager letter. Be creative. Let's be creative. Final
Yep,
question.
I've written that letter. I've written the convince my manager letter for sure.
Yeah.
My wish for 2030.
Yes, your wish for 2030 when it comes to humanizing the workplace and the imposter syndrome in the workplace.
I think I touched on it a little bit earlier, which is that, that pyramid, those three-step pyramid. So I really see that the base is being laid, and what I
Mhm,
really want to see is for more people to move up into that middle layer at least. I mean, I would love for the whole
mhm.
thing to happen, but let's move up to the middle
Yeah.
layer, which is really prioritize helping managers and leaders um,
Mhm,
be able to build trusted and supportive and psychologically safe spaces
mhm.
and
Yeah, agree.
support those people who are being vulnerable and bringing themselves into work and starting human dialogue. I think the
Mhm.
the biggest antidote to AI taking our jobs is to become more human. Is to
Yes.
really touch
Yeah.
on why work does need to be done by humans. Humans wanna talk to
Mhm.
humans. Humans wanna work with humans, and
Yeah.
AI is a tool. It's not to replace humans or put a barrier between humans. So I think the more that we can lean into that idea of the second layer, which is creating the psychologically safe environment for people to be
Mhm.
themselves and to risk and to dare and to innovate, is how we're going to provide that antidote for AI taking our jobs.
I agree. Thank you, Lauren, for
Thank you.
talking about your book and about imposter syndrome. And for the people that are watching or listening to this conversation, know that I think within 2 weeks, or no, 1.5 week, no, 2 weeks. Within 2 weeks, I'll be having a hot topic conversation about working parents. Let's talk about parents in the workplace, and it's going to be a hot topic that we are going to discuss. I will make the announcement soon, hopefully this week, and looking forward to what you have to say. And if you have any questions regarding Lauren, know that you can still answer. You can still ask them. I'll make sure to tag them, or you can tag her, and connect with her as well.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. This was
Unt-
great.
Until next time, everybody. Bye.